Hello everybody, it's Rory Pratt from Pratt's Pods. I'm back with another repair video. It's been quite a while since I've done one, so I thought I would take this opportunity and pick a prime example of a horrible looking iPad 7. So these have only been around a couple of years. I'm just going to show you, before I even start, where I see these problems are. I'm going to try and make this video a little bit quicker than normal. So as you can see here, this thing is full of dust. That dust is all under the screen where it's had a bad job before. You can see we've got bits missing where obviously they've not been taped down properly to the frame. I'm a little bit worried about what else we're going to find in this one, so I can physically put my nail between the glass and I'm certain I'm not going to need any heat to remove this one. So I'm a little bit worried what we're going to find on this one, so I thought I would do it on video. I'm going to put you up above my head to get a bit of a more bird's eye view and see how that works, and we'll go from there. Right, this is a new setup for me. I've never done any aerial video, so let's see how this goes. I'm hoping it'll improve the quality of these videos and make it a bit easier for you guys to see what we're doing. So yeah, got my fingernail under that side. I am just going to get a little bit of help from a tool on the top here. But again, no heat so far. These should be stuck together, well, see the way we do it. These should be stuck together incredibly well. These should not lift. You shouldn't have whopping holes in them. I feel like this one might have actually been super glued at the top here. Yep, some prime super glue on there. Ooh. See how the bottom is. Yeah, again, it's lifting incredibly easy. Now, this iPad is an iPad 7, and they are only a couple of years old, and I would never expect one of my customers to be happy with an iPad going out looking like this. Obviously, it didn't look like this when they last had it repaired. But it's obviously had a terrible job done, and personally I would never allow one of my customers to leave with an iPad in a state like this. So there is a bit of a better stick than I thought on the top. I'm yet to see really why that is. But, I mean, that iPad has now just been opened with no heat whatsoever. Let's have a look at the quality here. This screen looks pretty cheap and nasty, I'm not going to lie. There's the first issue. That home button bracket wasn't stuck down properly. And let me see if I can show you guys here. This is supposed to have a little black nipple on it. That's missing, obviously, where it's not been fitted properly. So now we're also going to have to do some extra work and repair this home button. So that's brilliant. Obviously, you can see the dust all over the screen here. Now that is really bad dust mark. And that dust mark has come because someone hasn't put new foam tape around the LCD. Now, we are fully aware that no one else in this area uses the same techniques as us, and no one that I know of in Berkshire will replace the foam tape on iPads. Now that is standard, that's how they come as factory, with foam tape on. If you're not going to do the repair properly and do it as it should be from factory, or get it as close to factory standard as possible, then don't bother doing the repair. That's how I see it anyway. We always try to make sure that repairs are put back in the best possible condition and in the most factory-like way. So that actually surprisingly cleaned up incredibly well. I think this customer has been really lucky in terms of that. So that dust mark hasn't seemed to stain this. It looks like it's actually going away, which is great. So now we just need to undo all the 4 corner screws. I'm not going to video through this whole thing because that would probably get tiresome for you. Well, we'll see how the video goes. Right, so I always come in on a corner with my tweezers and I see what's lurking behind here. All the screws are there. That's very nice. It's better than usual, I'm not gonna lie. Oh wait, we are missing a screw. One screw, which isn't the end of the world. To be honest, from the outside this looked like it was going to be one of the worst repairs ever. And actually, it's not terrible. Well, it is. That's me lying. It is terrible. Not as bad as I was expecting though. Right, now I'm just trying to find the screen. Obviously, I'm ill prepared for a video. Lovely. So now that's powered down and ready for me to take it apart. I've got my replacement screen here ready. So personally, we don't bother taking battery out on iPads. Yes, when you work on electrical devices, you should always unplug the battery. But from experience, we've never really had trouble with iPads like this. So now we're just going to take this home button off the screen. That's going to come off nice and easily. I'm going to put this to one side. Because we have to do that nipple repair, which I will be able to do on video in a moment, and hopefully you guys will be able to see. Next, I am going to put this on the heat mat for a minute, just so I can clean the frame up. And then once we've cleaned the frame, I'll primer it. And I think probably since our last video on iPads, things have changed a bit on the way we seal these, so you guys might be interested to see that. For now, so here is the new screen. So we'll always take this time to take off any of these tape bits. Take off, for some reason they all come with a new home button, which we are not interested in. So take that one off. Okay, and then we just take off the little bezel here because we have, oh wait, whoever did this repair last lost the little frame for the home button, so let's check and see how well that sits in. So this is one problem with other people doing iPads, is you have this. If they lose that little ring around the home button, that home button now sticks out further than the screen and feels nasty. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that home button now sits too far out on the screen. So thankfully, when we do a repair properly, we save up all of these little rings that we get on these screens that you don't need generally. And I believe if we double them up, that will make this home button sit flush again. So again, that's from another company's shortfall, not knowing how to do the home button on these, and the customer probably wouldn't have been any the wiser. So now that sits perfectly in the screen, and once we've got that mechanism fixed, that'll click lovely. Let's take that back off, get rid of these. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of primer on the screen. Just a dab here and a dab here. There you go. And then, we just need to clean off the oh, I've got a mind blank now. Clean off the bracket. Make sure he's got no adhesive left on him. And then we'll put a bit of primer on him, ready for new adhesive. That is clean. That is clean. So, some primer on here. We usually do 2 coats of primer on everything. That's what I'll do. Put that primer there. And what I'll probably do is let that sit there while I go and do this home button. So I'm going to see if I can video this home button repair and show you guys how we do this too, and I'll be back in a moment. Right, we're back. Excuse the wobble on that camera. So I've just fixed this home button. Hopefully I'll be able to edit that into the video, but that, although it doesn't appear to have a nipple, it's a slightly different type of button, so the nipple isn't black, the nipple is see-through on this, so happy days in that respect. I'm going to move these out the way. Actually, before I do the frame, it's probably just as important for me to spend the time primering and taping this down now. So again, this is my second coat of primer. I just like to put a bit of primer there and there, which is where this will line up to. And then we put a bit of primer there and there, and then once that's dried, that's going to make the bond of the adhesive we use really, really strong. So what it does, primer, is there is nothing wrong with the adhesive being used, but what primer does, it makes it tackier and generally stronger. So it will make the bond better. It does mean these things don't need 24 hours clamping before they get collected by a customer, although we do still leave them 24 hours clamping just for peace of mind. For us, we have always specialised in iPads. I mean, for probably at least 10 years now, I personally have been kind of here fixing all of the other people's mistakes when it comes to iPads. I've spent most of my time in repairs putting right other bodge job repair iPads. So I very much stand by the fact that I have not changed my process very much in the last 10 years, and we have adapted it slightly in areas where we've found out that we can improve it. This being one of them. So the way we do home buttons has changed. Probably a year or two ago now, we changed the way we do these because we did find a better way. There was never anything wrong, we never had any complaints about the way we were doing it, but we did find a better way, and we are all about ensuring that at Pratt's Pods our customers only get the best. So we're not going to do anything by halves. When we find there's a different or better way of doing something, we are going to thoroughly test that way of doing something and see how that goes. So that is the home button done. I'm just making sure that all lines up nicely and isn't going to give us any trouble. Perfect, it clicks perfectly. Now one other thing we do is, now this looks a mess but it's actually going to be quite neat, I might get in your way though, is we put a bead of this special cold pressed glue around the home button bracket, exactly like they do from factory. So again, coming back to keeping these repairs as close to factory standard as you can. Now again, I don't know of anyone else in this area that is doing this bead of glue around, and again, there was nothing wrong with not using this bead of glue for us because we knew the adhesive we were using was quality, but we did find a better way of doing it. Now this guarantees that that home button is not going to move at all. Another little thing we do on the 7 series, which we learnt from experience, was that the foam tape on the underside of the shield for the touchscreen ever so slightly too thin. So if we add this tiny little bit of tape onto the top of these, that just ensures that after these things have been dropped 4 or 5 times, you're not going to start having dead spots in your touchscreen where there's a loose connection. So that is just security for the future. We're future-proofing these repairs, making sure that nothing else is going to go bad. Perfect, right. Just a second, guys. I was just, sorry, neatening that up. Right, so now we're on to the frame cleaning. Frame cleaning, simple. Spudger, we get the worst off. Now, one of the most important things when it comes to iPad repairs is cleaning this frame. So now we give it a quick scrape with a spudger. And then we go over again with an alcohol wipe, just a standard alcohol wipe. I'm going to have to cut this short because the shop's going to start getting busy in a minute when everyone turns up to start. If I don't get this finished, I'll try and finish it off later when everyone's gone. So we make sure this frame is spotless basically, which the last repairer didn't manage. We do find the best way of cleaning these frames is an alcohol wipe and a metal spudger. Others say use a razor blade. To be honest, for this part there's no right or wrong, as long as you're getting that frame clean. Right, nearly there. Okay, back on the heat for a sec, then we're going to primer the frame, and then we're going to be able to seal this bad boy up. Right, so now this magical stuff is primer. This makes the adhesive that's used for iPads stick to the frame much better. It makes it tackier, makes it stickier, it means it needs less time to cure, it means long term it lasts a lot longer. As with every iPad that we've done, every time we've ever changed our methods, always really stress test it long term before we release it to what we do to customers. So we've got tons of our own devices, whether that be ones we've bought to sell, getting a Q-tip, or our own devices in the shop. We'll always stress test these new methods before we start doing all customer devices. So this primer stuff is brilliant, it's the bee's knees. We also did try different types of adhesive, and we've spoken to manufacturers and suppliers, and we've managed to get pre-cut adhesive, which speeds up the process for us. So ultimately, what we've always used is a certain type of 3M double-sided adhesive, but we still use that. We do still think that's the best, but we can now get pre-cut adhesive on the back of screens. And if you look at any of my old videos, I always complain about the generic black adhesive on the back of screens because it's pants. But this is actually a game changer. So this is Tessa tape that's pre-cut, and Tessa tape is probably the second best adhesive you could possibly use for this sort of thing. Okay, I still personally rate the 3M over it, but it is all down to personal preference, that one. Just a second. Yep. Just use the camera wobble for a second again. Right, so that's all plugged in now. Next we're going LCD, which is much better. We don't have the dust burn. We do still have a little bit of dust mark, but nothing compared to what we did have. We can get this here. I'm going to turn this on so I can test it while it's turning on. Back them screws back in. See if we can find a screw for the missing screw. Oh, I'm sure we probably can. Is there? Let's see if I can find a. That looks like the perfect size screw. Lovely. So, before I go any further, I'm going to test this repair. That looks very good to me. I'm happy with that. So now, do the last few screws, clean up that screen, stick on some new foam tape, which again is one of those things that we're one of the very few people that do it. This is one thing that does wind me up. So many people claim they do iPad repairs, but none of them seem to actually know how to do them properly. I mean, it's not rocket science. If there's something in this device from factory, it's probably there for a reason. And if you're going to try and repair these things, you should probably put them back how you found them. I say probably, but I definitely mean definitely. There's really no excuse for cutting corners on iPads. Now my head's going to be in the way for just a second while I get rid of this old original foam tape, which should have been taken off in the last repair to make space for new stuff. So there's that. So that was all of the defence that this customer had for ROM dust. I'll show you what we're going to replace that with now. So I'm just cleaning this LCD quickly. We clean it in between stages because now I'm going to put foam tape on. And yes, this LCD is not going to end up perfect, but you can only blame the last repairer and the customer for trusting that last repairer last time. So this is some double-sided foam tape. It's a millimetre thick, which is perfect for the size between the LCD and the touchscreen on iPads. So this does, I'm not going to lie, doing a video like this does make this look very easy. Please do bear in mind if you're watching this and thinking of doing it yourself, that the screen I took off of here was non-original. It hadn't been stuck down properly. Doing an iPad from original screen being broken is much harder in terms of getting that screen off, because it will take a lot of heat. You're very likely, if you're not experienced, to damage the LCD when you're removing it. There are so many places that you could go wrong in repairing these yourself from home. I am all for people giving stuff a go themselves, not so much on iPads, because we get iPads daily looking like this where it's not been done properly. And now we're just going to try and get all these marks off the LCD. See how well we can get this one sorted. So this also has what looks like a scratch on the top right of the LCD. That's always lovely. That's just what customers want, scratches inside their devices instead of on the outside. And it does look like that's as clean as we're going to get it to me. I don't think we'll get much better than that. Right. So that LCD is clean. This has all been tested. Let's start peeling back. Sorry, I was probably right in the way there. Peeling back this double-sided foam tape. There. 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 This corner does not want to come loose, does it? Let's try this corner instead. There we go. So now we peel this Tessa tape back. So if you ever watched an old video of ours, we used to always, and this just depends on where our screen has come from and if that supplier does this Tessa on the edge. So they always used to come with a nasty black adhesive on the edge that we always used to peel off and swap for our own special 3M tape. Now we get these screens that have Tessa tape on, which is exactly the same as our 3M tape that we always used to use and do still use a lot of the time. But it's pre-cut and pre-applied to the screen and does make our job a lot easier. So if we can get these, then happy days. It makes life easier. It's just as good a repair. Yeah. So yeah, there are lots of little scratches on this screen from the last repair. That's as good as it's gonna get. So now we just need to peel off the film on here. Put that in the bin. Check once more for dust, and we're good. And get this screen lined up nicely and sealed down. Now I've just done the classic of leaving that little tab inside. Get that out before it's too late. Make sure that camera's all nice and lined up. And we're all good to go. that is one successful iPad 7 bodge job repair fixed. Now, I put it on the heat mat, just here.